Hype is a funny thing. It actually works as a double-edged sword. More often than not, it only leads to disappointment. Very rarely does it actually work. Which brings me to Samsung's new phone, the Samsung Galaxy M32, which the company, of course, has been hyping a lot. Let's you and me together find out if the phone is worth the hype or not. My name is Ashad, you're watching MySmartPrice, and this is our review of the Samsung Galaxy M32. And before we move on, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever MySmartPrice puts out an awesome new tech video, and we're really trying to reach 100k subscribers soon, so please help us in that mission. Evidently, the marquee feature of the Samsung Galaxy M32 is its 90Hz Super AMOLED display with FHD Plus resolution. For context, Samsung's very own M42 that costs upwards of Rs 20,000 has an HD Plus display. So in the price range that the Galaxy M32 operates in, if you actually want a higher refresh rate panel, then you will have to compromise on the panel type and go for an IPS LCD panel instead. Now if you want an AMOLED panel, then you will have to compromise on the refresh rate and settle for 60 Hz. But yes, I am aware of the fact that for just Rs 1000 more, you get the Redmi Note 10 Pro, which actually comes with a 120Hz AMOLED panel. Anyway, the Galaxy M32's display is a treat for your eyes, with slim bezels on three sides and a comparatively larger chin. You get rich, vivid colors thanks to the deep blacks that look absolutely inviting from the get-go. It can also get really bright. I noticed it could reach up to 650 nits with the brightness slider set to maximum, but the phone has a capability to touch up to 800 nits when you take it in extreme brightness outdoors. Essentially, the visibility outdoors is great. Plus you get Corning's Gorilla Glass 5 protection, which is nice. But yes, the Infinity U panel does feel a little odd in 2021, considering a punch hole is all but the norm even in this price range. Another great addition to this display is the fact that you get support for 90Hz smooth refresh rate. While it is smooth for the most part, I feel it is let down by the G80 system on chip. I definitely face some stutters while using the Discover feed in the -1 page, in the quick settings panel, on Twitter, and a few other places. Moving on, there's support for wideband L1, but in my testing period, Netflix only supported SD playback. Samsung says that there will be a fix soon. But my only gripe is there is no support for HDR playback even in the YouTube app, something quite a few phones under Rs 15,000 can actually do. That would have just sweetened the deal. Regardless, this is a fantastic display. Now, also a part of the display is the haptic feedback, and Samsung keeps it switched off by default, and that's because it is extremely soft. But in this price category, do users really care about great haptic feedback? Do let me know in the comment section below. If not, Samsung's One UI does provide a really natural sounding keypad sound. Listen for yourself. A great typing sound can also add to the sensory experience. It's not always about the vibration feedback, so actually typing on this phone does feel like a dream. Coming to the design, if you are thinking the M32 looks familiar, it is because it looks very similar to the Samsung Galaxy F62. The phone is made entirely of plastic with a design flair in the form of vertical stripes visible through the polycarbonate laminate. Now this is an entirely glossy phone and feels oily to the touch, apart from attracting smudges too. There's a square camera module flush with the back, which is a good thing. What I like about the construction is that it feels sturdy. And despite the 9mm thickness, thanks to the large 6000 mAh battery inside the phone, it weighs under 200 grams. The ergonomics are great and conducive for single-handed usage too. By the way, the power button also doubles up as the side-mounted fingerprint scanner, which is pretty fast to unlock the phone. You also get a Type-C port at the bottom along with a headphone port. Now the sound quality through the headphone jack was good, nothing to complain about, but the mono speaker is pretty average and it doesn't sound really great. Lest I forget, the Galaxy M32 has a proper triple card slot with a slot for a memory card as well. I am sure that many buyers will appreciate this more than many other features. So if you like our video, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even comment below, because YouTube algorithm values these metrics a lot, and it will help push this video to more people looking for a Samsung Galaxy M32 review. The Galaxy M32 has a quad camera setup on the rear, which includes a 64-megapixel primary camera attached to an f/1.8 lens. There's also an 8-megapixel 123-degree ultra-wide-angle camera, 2-megapixel macro, and a 2-megapixel depth shooter. On the front, there's a 20-megapixel selfie camera. The camera app is your standard Samsung fare with modes such as food mode, AR doodle, custom filters, and more. During my testing period, I noticed that the phone did take a little while to capture a picture, so you have to hold your hand steady to take a shot in focus, or else you'll end up with a blurry one. Anyway, I compared the picture shot on the Samsung Galaxy M32 against the Redmi Note 10 Pro, and here is what I found. When it comes to colors, Samsung is not exactly natural looking, but it comes really close compared to Redmi's algorithm. The red color of the iPhone case, despite tending towards orange in Samsung's shot, does a fairly better job of recreating the color compared to the pink rendition by the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Plus, the Redmi Note 10 Pro has an overall warm tone which is visible on the grey of the sofa as well. So yeah, the Galaxy M32 wins the color round. In HDR mode, Samsung tends to overdo the colors, especially if there is a blue sky. Evidently, the blue here is too blue in Samsung's pictures. And the building in the foreground has a pink overcast, which is very evident as well. Having said that, the highlight control is equally good on both the phones, but when it comes to retrieving details from the shadows, the Galaxy M32 is just way better, which is further corroborated by the second sample here. So dynamic range is better on the Galaxy M32 as well. Now when it comes to detail retention by the 12 megapixel pixel bin samples from the 64MP cameras on these phones, both are on different ends of the spectrum. Redmi's algorithm tends to oversharpen the texture, whereas Samsung's algorithm has soft details. The 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera on the two phones capture very similar levels of detail in their respective samples, although the Redmi Note 10 Pro offers a slightly better dynamic range for what it is worth. As for macros, there is no beating the Redmi phones in this department. The Galaxy M32's shooter doesn't cut it here. It cannot go close or capture the kind of details that is possible on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. In human subject pictures, I noticed that the Galaxy M32 offers a more natural facial tone, but the Redmi offers sharper textures which is visible only on close crop. Although here, Samsung does get the color of the t-shirt right as well. In general, I prefer the human shots by Samsung phones over Xiaomi's Redmi phones. All the observations, including the facial tone, color and texture, is true for portraits as well. However, here Samsung's semantic segmentation, while great, tends to defocus parts of the beard, something the iPhone tends to do as well. But it is not necessarily a bad method, just a safe way of ensuring a DSLR-like look. Regardless, both the software bokeh approaches are fine. Moving on to selfies, the Galaxy M32 just beats the pants off the Redmi Note 10 Pro. From the color temperature accuracy to the facial tones to dynamic range performance, the Redmi Note 10 Pro cannot match up here. And similarly, in selfie portraits, the overtly green cast is such an eyesore on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Evidently, the M32 is way better here as well when it comes to target exposure and facial tone accuracy. Semantic segmentation or the edge detection is equally impressive on both the phones though. Moving on to low light shots, in the very first sample without night mode on, you can see that the Redmi Note 10 Pro offers better light sensitivity, plus the noise has been well controlled too. The same holds true for the low light mode with night mode on. Redmi's picture offers slightly sharper textures and better light as well. The M32 captures really grainy textures with a lot of green luminance noise added. The indoor night mode sample tells the same story, especially when you crop into the dining table on the rear. Very surprising that Samsung hasn't worked hard on the algorithm of this phone to actually reduce the noise, which is weird. In low light selfies, I prefer the non-night mode capture of the Note 10 Pro the best. It looks natural and doesn't make my face look like it is the moon. The night mode once again in selfies is really badly coded on the Galaxy M32. The grainy noise on my face is definitely looking ugly. Although the Redmi Note 10 Pro doesn't do any better here either, it is actually pretty bad. I'd suggest not using these cameras for low light selfies unless you really cannot avoid it. Video recording is definitely not the Samsung Galaxy M32's forte here. Not only does the phone shoot up to 1080p 30fps max, it suffers from focus hunting and bad dynamic range. The Redmi Note 10 Pro offers 1080p 60fps and 4K 30fps video recording. Plus, the quality of footage is undoubtedly better. Having said that, sound recording is actually equally good on both. The Samsung Galaxy M32 can only shoot up to 1080p 30fps videos. It can't even do 1080p 60fps, which is a bit of a pity. The Redmi Note 10 Pro, of course, can shoot 4K 30fps and 1080p 60fps. And quite a few other phones actually in this price range can shoot above 1080p and 4K as well. However, when it comes to selfie videos, the sound recording, the facial tones and the general target exposure is better on the Galaxy M32. The Redmi Note 10 Pro's only advantage is the stabilization option, but it is electronic image stabilization and that tends to crop into the face a lot. I'd rather take the Galaxy M32's footage here. So now I'm shooting a 1080p 30fps video using the front camera on both these phones. I quite like the picture quality of, the colors of the Samsung Galaxy M32 over the Redmi Note 10 Pro. The facial tones look pretty good as well. But of course, the Redmi Note 10 Pro can do image stabilization on the front camera, which the Samsung Galaxy M32 cannot. Having said so, yeah, the Galaxy M32's selfie performance is definitely better than the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Also, in daylight shots with great colors and good dynamic range performance, I generally prefer the pictures on the M32 compared to the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Now, where the Redmi Note 10 Pro actually takes a lead is in the macro performance, low light shots, and of course in rear video recording performance as well. So you have to figure out the modes that matter to you the most and make a choice accordingly. The Samsung Galaxy M32 runs on Android 11 based on One UI 3.1. It is rich with features. From Samsung Pay Mini to Secure Folder, you have some really unique value adds that are not present on non-Samsung phones. But yes, along with these value adds, you also get a lot of unwanted apps pre-installed. Evidently, Moj, MX Takatak and ShareChat are part of some elaborate content deal. Plus, Samsung also pushes you to use glance services on the lock screen of the Galaxy M32. Another thing I noticed is the Samsung Pay Mini app has ads running on the top panel where Samsung heavily promotes its TV Plus service, which by the way was also added as a widget by default on the home screen when I started the phone. Also, you see that the app drawer has a discover section that recommends apps, and hitting finish will actually end up installing a bunch of predetermined apps. I feel Samsung has managed to price this phone so low by partnering with so many different apps and services. Now, thankfully you can uninstall all of them except for Netflix. Now, if you can find some way to fine-tune your experience by switching off the stuff that you don't need and removing a few bloatware apps, then One UI does of course actually provide a very premium experience compared to other mobile operating systems in the same price range. For many folks watching this video, I'm sure the Helio G80 SoC must be a letdown, but it is Samsung we're talking about. This is the same brand that added G80 on the far more expensive A32, so I think this is not really a bad option. Now, also not everyone is a gamer. What we need to identify is if this phone can actually do day-to-day tasks properly, and for the most part it can. Let me explain. I did notice some stutters here and there and slowdowns too. Also, like I mentioned before about the 90Hz refresh rate, it is not really the smoothest One UI experience here. The phone also scores low on benchmarks compared to other phones with Helio G95 and Snapdragon 732G processors. And even in gaming, I tried Call of Duty and the max it could achieve was medium graphics and high frame rates. Casual games run fine on the phone though. 4G performance on the M32 was pretty good and solid, and the call quality was great too through the earpiece. But there's no support for 4G carrier aggregation, which is a downer indeed. It goes without saying that one of the biggest selling points of the Galaxy M32 is its super large 6000 mAh battery. It lasted me 2 days on a single charge easily, and you can easily get more than 10 hours of screen on time on a single charge on moderate usage. The 15-watt charger takes about 2.5 hours to charge from 0 to 100, but you can spend some more money for the 25-watt charger to get faster charging speeds, and it should reduce the charging time down to 1.5 hours to 2 hours. But yes, this phone doesn't throttle at all, and it mostly runs at full grunt and doesn't heat up too much either. But that's expected from the G80 SoC, which is not very powerful. Barring the G80 SoC and the encumbrances that it brings along with it, the Samsung Galaxy M32 is actually a great Samsung phone. I particularly enjoyed using it, especially because it's got that great display, excellent battery life, and of course good camera performance in regular daylight usage as well. It does make a strong case for itself. Also, let's not forget that Samsung is actually offering you a sweet deal with ICICI and HDFC cards, which gives you an instant Rs 1,250 cashback, which means that the price of the phone goes down to Rs 13,750 odd for the base variant, and that is a very sweet deal. Having said that, we're going to evaluate the phone at the actual price because not everyone has an HDFC or an ICICI card. So who would I recommend the Samsung Galaxy M32 for? Definitely not the performance nerds or the gamers that make up a big chunk of our audience for sure. This is for a Samsung fan or somebody who likes to stream a lot of content on Netflix and Amazon Prime, or also watch YouTube for that matter. I can see a lot of parents actually enjoying the phone, and for its focused approach, I feel that it should have a lot of takers, and don't be surprised if this ends up becoming the most selling phone under Rs 15,000 in the next quarter. So is this the best only phone that I'm going to be recommending to everyone under Rs 15,000? Most definitely not. I don't think so. That's also because I don't think that there is no one phone that is the best phone under Rs 15,000. There are just great viable alternatives and options in the form of the Poco X3, the Moto G40 Fusion, the Realme 8 and a few others. Now if you can spend rupees 1000 more, the Redmi Note 10 Pro definitely makes a great case for itself. It offers you 6 GB of RAM in the base variant, which is more than what you get, with the Samsung Galaxy M32. And of course, you get a better display with 120Hz AMOLED panel, and of course HDR performance as well. And most importantly, it's got a Snapdragon 732G processor, which is definitely way more powerful compared to the Samsung Galaxy M32. Having said that, the battery performance and of course, the camera performance in daylight is definitely better on the Samsung Galaxy M32. All of this gets really confusing, right? Which is why I keep saying under rupees 20,000 when someone comes to me for a recommendation, I really cannot say there is a one phone fits all approach. So yeah, so you have to figure out what really works for you and then make a decision. So let me know in the comment section below what are your priorities, so maybe we can help you find out what could be the best rupees 15,000 phone for you. So that's it from me. I hope you liked our review of the Samsung Galaxy M32. Do let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. Until next time, this is Arshad from MySmartPrice signing off. Goodbye and Godspeed, my friends.